My next guest, Matt Johnson, knows a thing or two about thrills and spills. He's a former soldier, a former Met copper, and his first novel, Wicked Game, published in 2016, became an instant hit around the world.
Just keep at it, be persistent, and never give up. The first book I published, Wicked Game, has to be my favourite because it's the one that launched the career. So although I've now completed a second, and that's with the publisher now, I think the favourite's always going to be the first. Sporadically, would be honest. I'm the world's worst at self-discipline. I try and write every day, but I always fail abysmally. So I write mostly in the afternoon, normally in the evening, and I write when I'm inspired. I'm not a great reader, to be honest with you. I haven't read many books over the years. I came to writing quite accidentally, not through a conventional method. As Peter knows, I came to writing as a form of treatment for post-traumatic stress, where I was encouraged to write about it, my experiences and that kind of thing. So prior to that, I didn't do an awful lot of reading, but I think going back over the years, the book that I remember in greatest detail and having the greatest effect upon me was Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist, which I found really stopped and made me think, and is the only book I've ever read twice. What's my guilty pleasure? Ice cream, without any shadow of a doubt. I'm trying to watch my weight, like anybody my age I should be, and I'm pleased to say that I've managed to lose over a stone in the last few months as a result of some doctor's advice, but ice cream is still my guilty pleasure. No, I don't really. None at all. I tend to just, I write at a keyboard, I write at the computer. I tend to get things set up. My reference books and the internet is always close at hand. But I tend to just log the computer on, read what I was writing most recently, and then just launch into it and see where things take me. Absolutely not. No. My first career was a soldier. My second was as a policeman. My third was running a boarding kennels. And it was only after leaving the police, as I mentioned earlier, that I was having treatment, that I started writing in any quantity when I was writing these notes and explanations for the purposes of counselling for post-traumatic stress with combat stress. It was only as a result of the counsellor who I was seeing saying to me one day that she really liked my writing and had I ever considered writing a book, that planted that seed of an idea in my mind. And it wasn't until years later that I actually returned to those notes, put them on the desk in front of me, started reading them. It was quite upsetting actually when I first started reading them, what I'd been writing them. But I had this idea in my mind that I was going to try and weave them into a work of fiction. And I found that I really enjoyed doing it, and fortunately it's been received quite well. The first book I planned, my planning was, there was no planning really. As I mentioned, I took those notes and I started to weave a work of fiction to join the notes together. I really let the story take me as to whatever direction it was going to go. By the time I got to book 2, I had a very minimalistic structure and an idea of what the story was going to be. But once again, once I started, I found that the story went off in a completely different direction to that which I'd originally intended. I'm now 25,000 words into book 3, and it has more structure than book 2 and much more than book 1. But already I'm finding that it's starting to head off in different directions from what I originally planned. So I think it would be fair to say that I worked to a skeleton of a plan, but when I start adding flesh to bones, then I never quite know what's going to develop. Yes. When I originally self-published my first book, and when it went to a publisher and I started working at an editing team, they said to me, we'd like you to incorporate some chapters about the Iranian embassy siege. And I said, oh, that shouldn't be too difficult. On this floppy disk here, I have some work I did many moons ago, where I wrote about that very subject. Of course, I loaded the floppy disk into the computer, corrupted, gone. My backup was destroyed. So I had to start from scratch again.
What Matt Johnson didn't tell us is he has a passion for dogs and for bees. Always great to have a fellow animal lover on my show.